Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Welcome to another insightful conversation with ChatGPT. Today we are discussing how to make better
hmm
decisions and avoid regret, a topic that affects our career, relationships, and everyday lives. Let's explore how we can think clearly, make wiser choices, and learn from the decision we make. My first question from ChatGPT: why do people often struggle to make decisions even when they have several good options?
Let me think. Honestly, great flow so far. For your first question, here's a 45-ish second answer. People often stall because of fear. Fear of choosing wrong, fear of missing out, or fear of consequences. Even when all the options are good, uncertainty makes the mind loop. So the trick isn't finding the perfect choice, it's deciding what matters most. Once your priorities are clear, even a good enough decision moves you forward.
What is the difference between making a decision based on logic, emotions, intuition, and pressure from others?
Checking. For your video, here's a 40 to 45-second take. Logic leans on facts and outcomes. Emotion leans on how we feel, what we value. Intuition is that quiet sense built from experience, even if you can't explain it easily. And peer influence is what others expect or suggest. The sweet spot's balancing all four without letting any single one boss you around. Sure, here's a fresh start. Okay, start. Sure.
What practical framework can person use to make better decision, especially when the decision is important or difficult?
Thinking. A practical way is a simple 5-step framework. First, define the decision. Second, gather the most relevant facts. Third, list options with pros and cons. Fourth, check alignment with your values and long term goals. And fifth, decide, act, and review. No framework guarantees perfection, but this one keeps things grounded and consistently wiser.
How can we distinguish between a genuine opportunity and a decision that we are making simply because we are afraid of missing out?
Checking. One of the best ways is to ask whether the choice matches your values and long term goals rather than an urgency or comparison. If you'd be glad you chose it, even if nobody noticed, that's likely a real opportunity.
How does overthinking affect decision making, and how can we stop ourselves from analyzing every possible outcome?
Let me think. Overthinking makes every choice feel heavier. The more outcomes you chase, the more uncertainty multiplies. To stop, set a clear decision deadline. Gather enough information, not endless information, and accept that some risk is normal. Do I have enough evidence to make a thoughtful choice? If yes, move forward. Progress comes from making good decisions consistently, not perfect decisions every time.
How important is it to consider both short term and long term consequences of a decision?
Checking. Balancing short and long term is crucial. Ask what this choice does for you today and where it takes you in 1, 3, or 5 years. The best decisions meet immediate needs without sabotaging future goals.
What role should failure and mistake play in our decision making process? If a decision turns out badly, how can we avoid being consumed by regret?
Checking. Failure and uh, checking quickly. Sure. Think of failure as a teacher, not a reason to stop. When something goes wrong, don't label yourself a failure. Instead, ask what happened, what you missed, and what you'll do differently. People who get better at decisions are those who learn from mistakes, not avoid them. Treat each slip as experience that sharpens the next choice, not evidence to quit.
How can we make better decisions when we do not have complete information or cannot predict the future?
Sure, say you invested in a course that didn't boost your career right away. Instead of calling it wasted, review what skills you gained, what didn't fit, and how to redirect that learning. That reflection turns disappointment into usable experience.
How can we deal with fear of making the wrong decisions?
Let's see. In real life, you rarely get complete information. So aim for the best decision with what you have. Gather key facts, think in likely outcomes, ask trusted people if it's big, and stay ready to adapt as new info comes in. Good decision makers aren't perfect forecasters, they're flexible learners. Checking. Fear never fully disappears, but you don't need to obey it. Get the best info you can, remind yourself few choices are truly irreversible, and focus on what you can learn no matter the outcome. Confidence is knowing you can adjust and grow after whatever happens. Say you're offered a new job in a different city. You might fear it's the wrong call, but you can research the company, talk to current employees, and imagine both staying and going for, say, 1 year ahead. Then choose the path that still seems reasonable even after you list the risks. That way, fear informs you but doesn't lead you.
What are some common decision making mistakes that successful people learn to avoid?
Checking. Successful people aren't perfect deciders, but they do avoid a few traps. Decisions based only on emotions, overthinking until opportunities vanish, ignoring expert advice completely, letting fear make the call, or deciding under extreme stress or anger. So reflect on past decisions and learn from both wins and mistakes, turning judgment into a sharpened skill.
Can regret actually be useful? How can we turn regret into a learning experience rather than allowing it to hold us back?
Checking. Regret can be useful if you study it, not stew in it. Ask, what did this decision teach me? And how can I do better next time? Treat regret as feedback, not life sentence. Successful people have regrets, but use them to sharpen future judgment. It's like keeping the lesson and dropping the self blame.
What simple question should we ask to ourselves before making an important life or career decision?
Let me see. Sounds like you're asking, what's a simple checklist people use before making an important life or career decision? Here's a 40 to 45-second answer for your video. Before a big life or career decision, use a simple 5 point checklist. First, is this aligned with my values and long term goals? Second, do I have enough reliable information? Third, what are the potential benefits, risks, and consequences? Fourth, have I considered advice from trusted, experienced people without giving up my own judgment? And finally, if I look back 5 years from now, will I be glad I made this choice? That short check brings clarity and purpose. So that's
How can we become more confident in our decision without becoming overconfident or ignoring advice from others?
Checking. Confidence without arrogance grows from checking your reasons, not shutting out advice. Be open to trusted opinions, but decide based on evidence and your values. Ask, what am I missing? And listen. That's real confidence, convictions plus humility.
Finally, if you could give me our viewers five simple rules for making better decisions and living with fewer regrets, then what would they be?
Checking. If I could leave five rules, first, be clear about your values and long term goals. Second, gather enough reliable information, but don't wait for perfection. Third, think through both short and long term consequences. Fourth, listen to trusted advice, but own your choice. And fifth, learn from every outcome, win or lose. Good decisions come less from perfection and more from clear thinking, wise action, and continuous learning.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for this insightful conversation.
You're welcome. Glad it helped.
Remember, a good decision does not always produce a perfect result, and a bad result does not necessarily mean that you have made a bad decision. Learn from the past, think carefully about present, move forward with confidence. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next conversation. Take care. Allah Hafiz.